In this video, I'm going to elaborate on creating an array or something similar to an array using Python. In Python, we call this construction a list. And again, what we're doing is we are storing more than one value or item inside our list or our array. And we use the same example as we did in Raptor. If we had 3 test scores, in some previous assignments, we stored each test value in its own variable name and the results, in this case, test average, in its own variable name. Now, arrays or lists are like super variables. We store more than one value in memory at a time. And of course, again, in the closest thing that we can emulate as an array using Python is the list. It is a list or an array is one of the most primitive data structures. And of course, when you use the term data structure, we always refer to this, or we're referring to the fact that we're able to organize data as a group, and then we look at the association or the relationship between that data or groups. For example, we wish to store a list of names, so we're going to call our list or our array name, and each one has an element or an index. That's why loops are so important, because the loop control variable element is going to act as an index so that we can navigate to each item in the list. Name, and then when you see this square bracket, sometimes you see it as a parentheses, but most of the times it'll be a square bracket. We reference this by saying name subscript 1. So this open close bracket is a subscript. Name subscript 2, and we have an item in that memory location. Name subscript 3, an item. And of course, these are string items, and so they are actually enclosed in double quotes when they are stored in memory. Name subscript 4, you have a particular value there. Name subscript 5, name subscript 6. This is kind of like, when you're doing math and you have superscript or subscript. And we're talking about more than one item within a list. So we use the loop control variable or the index to navigate or traverse through our list. And of course, in Raptor, you can see we used something like, if it was a student name, enter the student name or name, name subscript 1. Now, in Python, we use a special method, which is a function called append. The difference is that with the append, we have to have an object associated with it. So that's why we say append. And to the left, we have a dot and then name. Name is the array, and we're appending a value to this object. And this is an example. Actually, we could just say input the name of the customer or the student, and we would just say we would end this statement. However, what I did was I formatted this so that when it is displayed, it's going to say enter the name of the customer, and then it is going to display the actual index, or which customer it is, customer number 1 or customer number 2. You will see it momentarily. This instruction allows the user to enter a name inside the array called name, and it is going to be formatted right aligned, and we're going to format it in a particular manner. Stay tuned for more information concerning these instructions and this concept. Once again, when I reference this particular item in the list, I'm going to say name subscript 1, name subscript 2, and name subscript 3, etc. Here is an example of creating an array or list using Python. First, we must initialize the variables and the arrays or the list. I'll just say array or list because there's only one right now. Count, we're initializing the loop control variable or the index of the name of the array. This facilitates the process whereby we navigate through the array. So I have to use count, where actually we would be saying something like name subscript count. Count will be initialized to 0 in Python. You cannot do that in Raptor, but we can do it in Python. Now, the first step when you're working with arrays is to create an empty array. If you do not, you cannot work with the array. So the syntax is whatever the identifier or the name is for that array, followed by an equal sign, followed by open square bracket, close square bracket right next to each other. There are no blank spaces. Next, we're going to create or populate the name array or list. I will use these terms interchangeably. So I'm going to use a while loop. While count is less than 10. What we're assuming is that we're going to create a list of 10 names. Now, we don't always know how many names there's going to be, so we'll show you another way to work and get around that. But while count is less than 10, let's place 10 names inside of a list called name. In Python, there's a special method called append. Append is associated with the object. The object is name, and that's my list or my array. So the syntax is append. To the left of the append is dot name or name dot append. And because I'm reading in a name, that's a string data type. So I typed in string, open parentheses, no blank spaces between their input into the name. Now, when I enter the name, I want it to enter. Here's what I want it to do. I want the computer to display on the screen, enter name of customer or student. And then right next to it, I want it to display the subscript, if it's the first subscript. So that's how the computer is going to display this. And I added a little colon and a blank space. So when it displays, it's going to say enter the name of the customer, and it's going to display an open square bracket and then the index number. Now, if I don't add a 1 to count and I just add count, it's going to be for count 0. It'll be student number 0. The 2 represents 2 places for the number or the index number, and then D stands for I'm working with an integer. And then I'm going to close that square bracket followed by a colon. And I want it to be right aligned, and I'm allocating 4 positions for blank line, the count, the subscript rather, the subscript followed by the actual index followed by the close bracket for the subscript followed by a colon. When you see it run, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So all I'm doing is I'm formatting it a certain way. So it'll say enter the name of customer number one, and then there will be a place provided for me to enter that customer. Okay. Now, the good news about creating a list is that the computer stores all of these names in the computer simultaneously. So we're creating a list of 10 names to be stored simultaneously in memory, okay, or random access memory. Once this list has been stored in memory, we can use another loop to display all the items in the list. So we have to use another while loop. While count is less than or equal to 10. Now we do have to go back and reset count to 0 because the last value that it's going to store for count is 10. So we need to tell the computer to reset to count, and then it'll start at 0 again, and it's going to display the name, the label name, and the actual name in memory. So this is what is happening. It's going to print out or display the name, and it is formatted in this manner. All I did was I wanted to right align the index. Okay, so let's look at it. Okay, we're going to execute the code now. Enter the name of the student. I'm going to put in Walls, Courtney, Foster, John, Lane, Beth, Adams, Joseph, Brown, Susan, Clark, Brent, Don, Chris, Ward, Renee, and Cummings, Lisa, Parker, Mary. Press the enter key and you see the computer display name followed by the index or the position, the particular name, the element. In name subscript 1 we have Walls, Courtney, Foster, John, Lane, Beth, Adams, Joseph, Brown, Susan, and this should have been Clark, but we just have Clark. Brent and Don, Chris, Ward, Renee, Cummings, Lisa, and Parker, Mary. So we just created a name that will hold up to 10 items in the list during the execution of a program.